Azure App Service Hybrid Connection. A very beautiful feature to make your services running in on-premise available to an Azure App Service. See, Azure App Service is running in Azure Cloud and it doesn't have any necessary connection with a VNet. Unless you explicitly give, you don't need to set up any VNet connection. So when the VNet connection is not there, and I don't even have something like site-to-site VNet. VNet itself is not there. Forget about site-to-site VNet. How can I make an app service access a application running in a machine in the on-premise? That is where this hybrid connection comes into the picture. So hybrid connection is both a service in Azure and a feature in an Azure app service. So you have to actually create something called as hybrid connection. And after you create a hybrid connection, you link it to an Azure app service. As a service, it uses the capabilities beyond those that are used in the app service. Generally, app service will not have any problem in connecting to a service which is again in cloud. For example, if I have a SQL Server database hosted in Microsoft Azure, app service will not have any problem in connecting to that SQL Server. But if the SQL Server database is on my machine, for simulation purpose, imagine this PC itself is a site. So a SQL Server which is running on my machine, how will I be able to connect from an app service? That is where the hybrid connection comes into the picture. So within an app service, the hybrid connection can be used to access application resource in other networks. Need not be only Azure network, any network. It provides access to the application to an application endpoint, from your application to an application endpoint. So from here, we will have in cloud, in Azure, we will have an hybrid connection created, which is actually managed by Azure Service Bus. This hybrid connection is managed by Azure Service Bus. And Azure Service Bus speciality is it can connect two applications running in two independent networks. So let's say web application will connect to this hybrid connection, and also I will have on my machine one software called as Hybrid Connection Manager that will also provide connectivity to the hybrid connection. So web app will send the request to the relay hybrid connection. Relay, as the name implies, it will relay the request to this hybrid connection manager, and this hybrid connection manager will perform the operation on the local service, which can be SQL database, which can be any other application also for that matter, return the result back in the same route to the web application. So as used in the app service, each hybrid connection correlates to a single TCP host and port combination. I'll show you this practically. In the app service, we'll have to specify where do we want to connect to. That is nothing but supposed to be the name of this resource as on this machine. So on my machine, how am I going to connect to the SQL database? That same thing is what I would use even while connecting from here also. Hybrid connection feature does not know or care what the application protocol is or what you're accessing. Not necessarily only SQL Server, anything for that matter. Through hybrid connection, we will be able to access it from the web app. So to demonstrate this whole thing, and we'll come back and discuss the rest of the theory, what I would suggest is to look at one project which I have already developed. So this is a simple employees controller which I have developed. Do not worry too much about the steps to run this particular application. It's basically a API controller, web API this is, and it has the method called as get employees, and get employees is going to return all the employees. Then we have method which can put the employees, basically update the employees, post employee, to add an employee, and blah blah blah. And I've used entity framework for programming this particular application. Don't want to get into the details of how all this is implemented. One thing very clearly, in app settings.json, I'm supposed to provide the connection string to connect to the SQL database. And the connection string says server is equal to Sandeep machine. And the port number by default for SQL Server is 1433. But here I have given 1412. So what is this Sandeep machine and 1412? Now what I did is, on my machine, I'm going to run this command to create a SQL Server instance. It can be a SQL Server non-container instance also in your network, but for simply demo purpose, I'm creating a Docker container. And Docker container, I have done something called as port mapping for 1412 to 1413. So if I send a request to my local machine 1412, it will forward the request to the container 1413. That's how this configuration is. And to give that name Sandeep machine, I edited. Let's open Notepad in administrator mode. And once you have Notepad open in administrator mode, you have to open a file C:\Windows system 32. Here you'll have drivers, under drivers etc, and there is a file here called as hosts. That's it, hosts is the file name. Edit that file. And here I gave this domain name map to 127.0.0.1. I did this. So now if I do here on my local machine ping, and if I give Sandeep machine, it will go to 127.0.0.1. So the image is being pulled, container is created, and that Docker container is actually running. SQL Server Docker container is running on port number 1412. So we can confirm that this is all good by using SQL Server Management Studio. Go to SQL Server Management Studio and give here either localhost, 1412 is fine, or you can see here I already gave ping Sandeep machine. It's already sending the request to 127.0.0.1. And if I do ping localhost also, it is same thing, loop back. So 127 is loop back, localhost is also loop back, Sandeep machine is also loop back to 1412. Username is SA. Password is again supposed to be picked up from whatever we have given here. So this is the password. Put the password and that's it. We are connected to SQL Server. Right? So same connection string I have given in my application. Sandeep machine, 1412 database. If it is not there, it will get created, username, password. Now for demo purpose, I am doing this. You may probably have in your network a SQL Server software installed. Point is, using this name, you should be able to reach the SQL Server. This name and port combination, you should be able to reach SQL Server. That is the criteria. And whatever username and password that SQL Server machine has, the same thing you are supposed to give in the connection string. Here, this is developed in ASP.NET Core, and I have also implemented Swagger metadata. So a lot of technical stuff, don't have to worry about it. What I am doing is, running this particular project locally first. On my machine, I'm running this particular project. So it will take me to Swagger. It's localhost, you see. On my machine, I'm running. I want to get the list of all employees. Right now, when I say execute, I'll get nothing. No employees at all. It's fresh. So let's insert an employee. Try it out. Insert something. Just leave the default data. Insert it. Come back and try it out again. It's working. Now the only difference I would like to do is database, I'll keep it on my machine, and web app I'll publish to app service. So right click, publish, and I would like to probably create a new profile altogether. Want to publish to Azure. I don't have a web app, so I'll create a new one from here itself. If I have, I'll select and use that. Yeah, it's something is there. Let's use this. DSS demo app is there. We'll use this only. And next, it's something to do with API management. I'm not interested. You can skip this step. So now I'm publishing the entire web app. It's not a web app actually, it's a web API to be precise. But same thing is applicable even if it is web app. So now publish it. Only the web application is getting published. And this web application will not be able to access the database running on my machine. Quite simple, there is no connectivity. My machine doesn't even have public IP. So there is no chance of any connectivity between the app service and the local machine of mine. That is where I'm going to make use of the relay. So I now go to the portal, go to the app service, app services, select the app service, go to networking, you see hybrid connection is on. You can turn it off also and restart, no problem. And there are some connections which are not required. We can just disconnect everything. So I basically deleted all the hybrid connections from here, but actually they don't really get erased. Even after deleting from here, you will still find them here. When you click on hybrid connection, you can now either create a new hybrid connection or you can select the one from here. So I was trying various combinations. That's how all these are there. You may not need all of them. Anyways, first let us prove that this is not working. So /Swagger. So you'll get the Swagger UI. When I'm going to teach you ASP.NET Web API being deployed as Azure App Service Web API, we call it as Azure App Service API apps. That time I'll probably do this entire example for you. But right now you see, if I try to say get, it will give an exception. It will give an error. It cannot connect. It's not able to connect. So it is going to fail. Obviously, right? This is Azure. The app service is running in Azure and trying to connect to my machine is impossible. And I don't even have point to site, no network connectivity, nothing. So it's an error. So how do we facilitate this? The first thing we'll have to do is on the machine from where the SQL server is accessible, not necessarily the same machine which has SQL server. Any machine in the network from where the SQL server is accessible, on that machine you should download Connection Manager. You have to download and install the Connection Manager. It should be done on any one machine on your network, and that machine should be able to connect to internet using HTTPS. 443 port number should be allowed on that particular machine. Outbound request, inbound outbound request to that machine, 443 port number should be allowed. So firewall, if there, has to be taken care of. This we have done on the local machine connection manager. Second step, now you have to go here and click on add hybrid connection, and you should say new hybrid connection. Give some name, Sandeep, let's say SQL Server. Host name. Now what is this host name? This is the same name you are supposed to use as you would use on the machine from where SQL Server is accessible. Basically this name. Same name is supposed to be used. On the machine where we are going to install the hybrid manager, that machine should be able to access SQL Server by this name. So that's what is the host name. And the service is accessible on which port? I have mapped port 1412. That's what I have done, 1412. So basically from my machine, the service is accessible using this host name and port. The same host name and port we are supposed to give here. Internally, it is going to create a service bus namespace. You might either use an existing one if it is there. If it is not there, you should create a new one. Ideally speaking, this should be in the same location where the app service is, so that the latency will be low. Don't give this in a different region. Preferably, the region of the service bus must be same as the region of the app service. Now, I already have this combination created here. So instead of creating a new one, I would simply select what I want, Sandeep machine 1412. Select this and I'll say add selected hybrid connection. If you don't have the combination host name and port number here, then you'll have to create a new one. But because I already have this, I'm using an selected hybrid connection. So this is now going to be added to my app service. Now in app service, I can happily use this name and port number to reach the destination service, which is actually accessible using this combination from the machine on which the hybrid connection manager is installed. That means my machine. So what shall I do now? Right now also this will not work. App service will send here, but app service, it's going to send where? Where will hybrid forward the request to? Hybrid still doesn't know. We have only completed this part. This part is completed. We are yet to complete this part. So hybrid connection manager on my machine. So I'll go to hybrid connection manager UI on my machine. I have to create a new hybrid connection now. You have to connect to your Azure where you have the app service hosted. Specify the username and password. And it is going to list here all the subscriptions. Multiple authentications, because I have multiple subscriptions. You may not get something like this, so don't worry a lot about this. So now you see your subscription, choose a subscription. Mine is SS2. In SS2 I have a hybrid connection created. So the one which I am interested in is whatever name we have given here, Sandeep SQL Server. So select from here Sandeep SQL Server. because I have already done this once on my machine, it automatically got listed here. Got it? So click on save, select this one select this one, click on save. Here it is going to now show it's saving, and here it will now show not connected. Now this is where I was stuck. Unless this shows as connected, we will not be able to proceed further. From here to here connection is established, but from here to here it shows connection not there. So the solution to this problem is go to services. Go to task manager first on your machine. Once you go to task manager, go to services. And here you have to search for Azure Hybrid Connection Manager. Hybrid Connection Manager. You should see either Azure Hybrid Connection Manager or Hybrid Connection Manager, whatever. It's Azure Hybrid Connection Manager. You have to restart this service. Just restart it. After you restart, double click on this. It's running. Now go back to your Hybrid Connection Manager and refresh here. It should show connected. This took huge amount of time for me to realize. It's as simple as adding the connection, restarting Hybrid Connection Manager service, and this will show connected. So now this is connected, this is connected. Relay is ready. Both are connected. So Sandeep machine 1412. Let's go back to the same app service. Restart the app service. After you restart the app service, go to the same URL with Swagger. It's still restarting. Once it is available, click on Get API, try it out, execute. I got the same record which I actually inserted locally. You can insert one more. Try it out. Some data, some salary. ID will be auto generated. Verify here. 2 records. Run this from the local machine. You will get the same record. From my local machine, from Visual Studio I am running now, I'll get the same record. It's localhost. Same thing. So basically it's an indication that both app service running in cloud, the local application running on my machine are able to access the same database. You can even go to the management studio, connect to my Sandeep machine 1412, refresh here, you will see the same database is supposed to be present here. Same tables. But mind you, this is not as fast as it would be to connect the SQL server which is also in cloud. The performance can have impact on this kind of setup. The bandwidth which I am having for connecting to internet is going to decide what would be the performance of the overall application, though the application is hosted in cloud, because there can be a lot of latency between the application to my machine. That latency is always going to be there, and that can be a concern. Otherwise, this is one of the beautiful ways where you don't need virtual network, you don't need any other network, direct from app service. Using hybrid connection, you are able to connect to the service running on my machine by just using the host name and the port number which are accessible to my machine. That is important. Though the entire demo was given through a single PC, the same thing is applicable even for an on-premise organization setup. On the machine where we have installed the hybrid connection manager, the service name and its port should be accessible, and same thing should be used in hybrid connection. So this is what we have achieved. Web app is sending the request to the relay hybrid connection. Relay is relaying it to the connection manager. Connection manager is giving it to the database. Database producing the response back, giving it here. So there are two joined connections, two connections actually, one from this side, one from this side. Your app has a TCP tunnel to the fixed host : port combination. In our example, it was Sandeep machine : 1412. The connection uses TLS 1.2 for security and shared access signature for authentication and authorization. SAS tokens are used actually. These things you will understand when we cover storage accounts. So when your app makes a DNS request, that machine that matches a hybrid connection endpoint, the outbound TCP traffic automatically will be redirected through hybrid connection. So you should always try to use DNS name. Important is name should be used, IP should not be used. In your hybrid connection, name should be used, and that is the reason I created this entry in my host file. Otherwise this would not work. I cannot directly put this 127.0.0.1/1412 in my hybrid connection which is created from here. I can't do that. So there are a number of benefits of using the hybrid connection. Apps can access on-premise system and services securely. Exactly what we demonstrated. Feature does not require an internet accessible endpoint. My machine doesn't even have public IP. Anything on my machine is not accessible to internet. Just because of hybrid connection manager, it was made possible. It's quick and easy to set up. Doesn't take more than 10 minutes. Each hybrid connection matches to a single host : port combination. Hybrid connections can be many, but the combination should be unique. That's what I have done here. On a networking, when I enabled hybrid connection, I have given Sandeep machine, 1412. That should be unique. It normally does not require firewall holes. No permissions have to be given on firewall. Normal web request, if a machine is able to access internet, that means already HTTP and HTTPS ports are open, and that is enough. Standard web ports are enough. No specific additional permissions need to be given. Because the feature is network layer, it is agnostic to the language used by the application. I have demonstrated in .NET application. It can be Java, Python, PHP, anything, because it is working at the network layer. Sockets have to be created. It can be used to provide access to multiple networks from a single application. Not necessarily one network, multiple networks it can connect to. In each network, you just need to set up a hybrid connection manager. Now, there are certain things you cannot do with hybrid connection. You cannot use UDP. You cannot mount a drive. access TCP based services using dynamic ports. Port is static. 1412 is fixed. That cannot be dynamic. FTP passive mode, extended passive mode, all these are dynamic ports. Support LDAP. LDAP works on UDP and UDP is not supported. Support Active Directory is not possible because that needs a domain join and app services cannot join the domain. So here guys, just for your reference, I have given a command in case you already have Docker Desktop installed on your machine. You can run this. If not, directly install SQL Server on your machine and then use that SQL Server. And the file which I edited for host entry in my demo is this host file. You must edit this file as administrator. Edit the below file. For the demo which I gave, edit the below file as administrator. And in that file, what is the entry we provided? Simple, 127.0.0.1 map to Sandeep machine, so that the request can loop back. That's what we have done so far. So this is all about what we have to do for hybrid connection. Thank you.